money down there in the coast of the UK, the ones
Yeah,
that were told that they would get a better deal once they
yeah,
left?
exactly. And Alex, somebody made a documentary of the HS2 line, and they worked out the time difference between the existing trains and the HS2 lines that are going to from London to Birmingham. And you're only going to save 20 minutes. 20 minutes you will save from London to Birmingham. Can you imagine like spending hundreds of extra dollars just to save 20 minutes? Because this is a not cheap exercise. This is costing them hundreds of billions, right? And so
Mm.
they're gonna have to make that money back because this is most of it. And they're gonna have to charge ridiculous amounts of prices. So if you're a commuter, you'd rather take the slow train and get there 20 minutes earlier than take this fast train and spend hundreds of dollars extra for it. If you're going to save maybe an hour or 2 hours, then that's fine. Because you look at Chinese high-speed rails, they go from Shanghai to Beijing and they save like it used to take over 10 hours. Now it's like 3 hours or something. And now they're building new
Well,
trains. It's going to be 1 hour.
I'm located here in Southwest China, and I don't know if the audience is aware of this, but we just connected 4 major stations here. They've always been part of our stations, but we've connected them to the high-speed rail network, the Fuxing line. Now, there are high-speed trains, and then there's the Fuxing trains. I hope I'm trying to pronounce that correct. Some of these trains go 160, 220. Some of them go 200 to 240. This one goes over 300 kilometers an hour. And I took the inaugural voyage from Chongqing when it left the station back in October. I believe, no, not October, probably back in June. Okay. And this rail line, get this. They had to make a rail line that could support a speed, of these trains. Over 95% of this rail line is through the mountains. And as soon as you come out of the mountains, it's a bridge to another mountain, back into a tunnel, back into another tunnel. And over 95% of that voyage, they had to blast through mountains to put that rail line in through the Three Gorge area. And this trimmed the time down. This made massive impact. And this is where I'm trying to, once again, I'm not, this, oh, you're pro China because you're talking about China's achievements. Imagine your country I'm going to use Canada again because I'm Canadian. Imagine I live about 8 hours away in Canada. If I'm living in Canada from my mom, I'm 8 or 9 hours away. What are my options? My options are to get in the car now at this time of year, maybe get on a single lane highway, not a motorway. We'll call it the Trans-Canada Highway, which is sometimes dual lane, sometimes not. We have no passenger rail pretty much in the western and central part of Canada. I mean, we have a tourist train. Okay, this is Canada. We don't have twinned tracks. So that means that some trains that are cargo have to get off in a holding bay while another one coming the other direction goes to the east coast from the west coast. We have 8,000 kilometers in that country, and we haven't invested in our rail network in decades, okay? It's only been cut. Well, China's gone the other way. They've invested in infrastructure. Now, to you, it might say, well, how does that really impact things? Okay, well, I can get to Beijing by train in 7 hours here. So 2 options. One, I don't have to get into a costly car and drive forever. That would take forever. And if the train can go high speed from these new stations to Zhengzhou to Beijing in 7 hours, well, car is definitely not going to happen. And potentially planes will not be really needed as this network gets expanded more. The other thing is logistical lines, family visits. People don't have to get in their cars, jam the airports. They get on a rail line. Safe, secure, easy. Don't have to go through all there's security, of course, but don't have to go through all those checks, taking your baggage, dragging it onto an airplane, waiting for it to come off. Just get on a train. Nice train. Want a meal? No problem. Want 5G internet? No problem. For me and my mom, if that happened in Canada, I would see her weekly. Hey, Mom, let's meet halfway. See you in an hour and a half. See you in an hour. And, we'll have a whatever. And that's infrastructure. And that falls onto once again, where I was talking about Hewlett-Packard here, cars that are being manufactured. There's a massive EV market here. AJ, I can't wait till you get to China to show you this massive EV market here. It's massive. Yeah. It's not the EV cars that are being pumped to you out in the Western society. These cars,
Alex, we have no charging points.
I know.
I was in my friend's car the other day, and we broke down. It's
unbelievable.
All the charging points he had on his app, every single one he went to was either broken or somebody vandalized it. And by the time we went to find another one, the car just stopped. We were like, "Oh, great!"
But it's here, and I try to, and I even tell my friends here locally, "Do you guys know how good you got it?" And then, there's not enough charging posts. I said, "What does that mean?" It's about 2 kilometers away, 1 kilometer away. I'm like, come on, guys. I mean, most of the shopping malls have unlimited charging posts. Sometimes if your car is identified, it has a green plate. Sometimes that you have free parking just to get you in the mall, and free charging. What a great way to get somebody in, right? Vandalism, pretty low here. But once again, I'm going to be told that I am pro-China because I'm pointing out all the good things. But how can you complain when you have brand new infrastructure, brand new roads, brand new trains, brand new high-speed trains, brand new airports, a safe society that you can walk out, not get robbed, opportunities that people will support your businesses? How on earth am I supposed to be negative, guys? How can I be negative when everything seems to go the way that you would like things to go? When you go out at night, you don't have to worry about somebody stealing your bag. Has this country been hit with inflation? A little bit, but over my last visits over the last year and my reports that I've done in grocery stores here, fuel costs have gone up a little bit, but grocery stores, plane tickets, cost of living, no, it hasn't hit this country at all. Okay, marginally, sure, some things are going to go up. Rental costs? No. So people want me to say negative things. Here's one here. The housing sector. I'm going to make a comment about that because that one's pretty easy to blow out of the water. People buy property to invest long term. Yes, they do. Okay. As Westerners, some people buy cars. How weird is this? You buy a car and you trade it in and you lose 35 to 40% of the value 2 or 3 years later. Interesting investment. So the Chinese, they buy houses. They sit on them. 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, who knows?
In the West, okay. They rent a lot as well in the West.
And they rent. Or they rent to guys like me that moved to China. Yes, there's going to be failed developments. I just gave you a copy of a failed development. My God, people that are bringing up, AJ, there's one guy in the chat here is talking about the housing sector. Where were you in 2008 when the entire housing market in the United States almost brought down the entire global economy? How dare you put a comment like that in here, shouting that Chinese should worry about their housing market? You know what's crazy about that comment and how ridiculous that comment is, AJ? Is that Chinese were sitting at the table ready to write the checks to help America out of this mess. Now, is there going to be failures in this country? Sure. Is there going to be developers that get in trouble? Sure. But can China write itself a check to get itself out of a mess or help? You bet. And they certainly did in
Exactly.
2008.
Exactly.
So I'm not going to bring up any more crazy comments. Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, look, you got to look at all these countries which are in trouble all over the world. Look at Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Turkey. One thing they don't have that Chinese have is a lot of capital, a lot of money. So if China wanted, right? I mean, they make a budget, surplus of over 100 billion per month. That's just with the United States. Compare that with the rest of the world, and imagine how many hundreds of billions they make per month. They're sitting on gold, China, right now. I mean, you just have to look at their economy and the price of their PPP. China has been closed for the last, couple of years, and once it opens, they're just going to go full steam ahead. But look
Yeah.
at this year. This year they're spending $6 trillion. I mean, this is not yuan, by the way. This is dollars. $6 trillion on infrastructure projects, on renewables, on high speed rail, on many other things. And if and imagine the money that will come back in terms of the economy. And people say, look, oh, they're losing money in the high speed rail, they're not making any money of it. People that say that, they don't look at the big picture, right? So when you build a high speed rail between two cities, it's not about people transport, but these two cities, they will increase their GDP because you will be transporting goods and services between those cities. People will be traveling to and from work between those cities. Money will be going back and forth between these cities. And when that happens, when money circulation happens, this increases productivity, this increases GDP, and they will make that money back. And people who say they've lost money, I mean, look at any business around the world. If USA wants to build a high-speed rail for $100 billion, are they going to get that money back in 2 years, 3 years? No. This is a long-term investment. They'll probably break even after 20, 30 years. This is like every other business. You put money in and you get money out, and it takes time. People don't seem to understand the big picture. I mean, this will increase GDP and they will make their money back. I mean, I'll give you one example. There's a train line that's going between China and Laos.
Yes. One of our reporters did a great report on that.
Yeah. And somebody actually done I think I've seen that report. They've actually worked out the costs. It costs that to build that railway. It took over 10 years. It took a long time, but the costs to build that railway line, the amount of GDP that Laos has increased over the past year. In 1 year, their GDP has shot up, and the cities around China, which goes to Laos, I'm talking about Kunming as a city, their GDP has almost doubled or tripled in 1 year because they are sending goods back and forth from Laos and stuff. So they've already made that money back in 1 year. In 1 year, China's made that money back. Laos has made the money back in 1 year in GDP growth. And also, it's made lives a lot easier in Laos. A lot of people have come out of poverty because of this line. People are transporting goods back and forth China. Chinese people are going to Laos as tourists. They're spending money in Laos. So imagine all of that money and all of that wealth, being distributed between Laos and China. I mean, that increases
amazing,
GDP. And that, people don't look at that, and they've already made that money back. So money they make from now is all going to be all profit. It's all profit, and people don't. This is why there's a lot of people who make these comments. They don't have a business sense. They don't have much common sense. Or you got to understand why things are done, and you just got to follow the money. You just got to follow the money.
I agree.
Look at the big picture, and then make comments like that.
Yeah, like this one here. It's the fact that I very rarely ever touch on things even the locals complain about. Okay, so locals will complain about maybe too much rain right now, because sometimes we get rain. So locals will complain about that. I know a couple of locals that are complaining. The one guy, he's always complained to me that he can't find a girlfriend. So that's another, I guess, a complaint. Somebody wasn't happy. I think that was me. I was complaining that somebody was putting coffee cups and blocking the garbage cans. So okay, that's another complaint. And here's another one. And the same guy, girl, whoever. There are wonderful things China deserves to be commended for, of course. Thank you. You're right. But you might want to sometimes cast a critical eye. I get posed that you should be negative. Alex, you should be negative. You should point out all the negativities. When I find some, I will. When? But I've been on this earth quite a while. I've gone to over 107 countries I've traveled to. And people will say, well, if you think China's so great, why don't you move there?
You are there.
I did. I moved here. Yes, I moved here. Do I think it's great? Yeah, you should be happy that someone is happy. Die away. You should be happy. I'm a happy guy. I brought my wife here. We're very, very happy. I know you want, and I know there's a thirst to see a Westerner here follow the collective West rhetoric on China. But I'm in one of the largest cities on the planet, and definitely one of the largest cities in China. I'm telling you. If there's something to be critical about, I'm not worried to bring it up. No one's gonna, I don't think anybody cares in China here. Yeah. If I have an issue with certain things.
I've got something critical.
Please.
So obviously, I'm just saying this as a Westerner, and I still don't understand why China is still having a zero COVID policy. I'm still, as a Westerner, I still don't get it.
Sure, let's talk about that. That's good.
The world has been open for over a year now.
Right.
And why is and obviously
this is good.
There's a new Omicron
this is a good
virus.
Question.
Yeah, there's a new Omicron virus obviously going around and stuff like that. But the Omicron is not as serious as the first wave. The first wave killed millions. We're talking about, but this Omicron in UK is not killing as many people. We have like one death a month or something like that. Same in the rest of the world as well as this. So why is China still under lockdown? Why are they not opening up? I think that's just one criticism many people
all right. So this is interesting. And I have this conversation daily. I actually have it daily with a lot of people. And it's very complex for a lot of people to understand why this country has it's not like it's striving to have zero COVID. We'll call it the dynamic COVID policy. And I'm really happy that you brought this up. And we can now finally dissect it in a way that we've had this interaction together. It wasn't something that we just said, let's have a show about this and talk to the audience about it. We're doing this basically unscripted. So here it goes.
Yep.
You have to remember the first initial issue with the virus, the more stronger one, the SARS that happened. There was outbreaks in Hong Kong many years ago, very potent. So at the start, China didn't really know exactly what this thing was capable of. So immediately, it does what this country does best, and that it goes into a proactive approach. Give you an example: massive earthquake in 2008, Sichuan province, put 15 million people out of the houses. International community want to help China, said, no, we got it. We can handle it. So this country remained closed, just like every other country around the world. I believe there's about 190 plus or 5. Depends who's independent, not independent. But this country watched, and while the rest of the world was struggling, China never changed its policy from March in 2020. They kept their borders closed with very strict terms to get into the country. It was steady, they consistent, and those are still in effect today, albeit some restrictions have been lightened on quarantine. But the policy is the following. When you have 1.5 billion people and you see one of the largest economies have a let it rip approach after their policies fail, and I'm not saying that I agree with all mandates that every country has, or certain lockdowns that certain countries have, or certain mask mandates or vaccinations. There's no obligation to get a vaccination here. There's not. And for those people that think there is, you're wrong. There's no mandatory vaccination. It's in the best interest if you have people over at a very vulnerable age to get vaccinated, because if they get COVID, there's a pretty good chance that they might not make it. Okay, so let's look at it a little bit more deeper. If you use the numbers from the United States or Canada or United Kingdom or Italy or whatever, we would have anywhere from 5 to 6 million people die here in China. And what's crazy is, I think the collective West was banking on that number.
Yeah. Yep.
They were probably banking on 850 million people to get infected, to have long-term effects. Now, you might think I'm crazy to think that. Well, look at the geopolitical nonsense that's going on today. They want to wipe a country of 140 million people off the globe, and they don't care.
Yep.
They don't care if it's a small business owner, a grandma, a grandpa, an aunt, or uncle that owns a business in Russia, or they're traveling. They just don't care. They basically cancel that country out. So China kind of went alone and said, okay, let's see what vaccinations can do. So they went along that line. Numbers started to get lower around the world. Let's see what type of, strains come out, whether it's Omicron, whether it's, 5A2, B1, whatever they are. And as the numbers started to lower and lower, that meant that the death toll in the calculations would start to be minimal. Now, it also gave the country time to vaccinate the people that wanted to be vaccinated, that wanted to be, not forced, because there's a lot of elderly people here that still don't want vaccinations. Now, whether that's a conversation with their parents and their children together to have that. Anyway, so as China plays its long game, they are continually watching 186 other countries have a failed policy. And it's our countries that are telling this country how they should deal, or they should open because everyone else is open. That would be a pretty hard thing to swallow if 6 million people died and 800 million people got infected.
Yeah.
This is not a small country. This is a country that is the warehouse to the world. It's the engine to global economies. And in fact, I think this nation, and people are going to say it again, but here you go, Alex, you're praising them again. You better believe I'm praising this nation, because this nation kept logistical lines open, warehouses open, everything open, while it was trying to find out how it can prevent things. Now, something else that I need to tell you guys that is very, very different from a country before I was here. I was living in Thailand. You've heard the story. Thailand was an absolute disaster.
Yep.
The government was betting on, and Thailand did great at the start. For the first 6 months, we thought, great, 2 people infected a day, 5 people, everything's fine. And then bang, it went to 50,000 a day. Good luck getting a vaccination. Didn't happen. Well, I managed to get my vaccination from a hospital that was vaccinating Chinese citizens because the government was vaccinating its citizens outside of the country if they wanted to. So when you see that approach, externally, the government's trying to help. Internally, they're trying to help. They're trying to keep the economy open. They're trying to keep things moving. They're trying to vaccinate people. They're trying to keep the numbers down. And then while they're at it, they come out with a contact tracing app, which I don't think you guys really understand what this app does. Because it does things that you, of course, would say, oh, but it's my privacy. It's my privacy. If you don't think Google or Apple or any of the Western Coast companies in Silicon Valley know what your phone is doing, just give Edward Snowden a call, okay? Or, just go on. Google pings your phone hundreds of times a day. So let's forget about this privacy stuff. I'm throwing that out, freedom of speech, all this. I'm throwing that out because it's nonsense when it comes to this. These applications that are downloaded to this phone, first, you can't get these applications until you are approved. Now, that's approved. Even before I got into the country, I had to have a green health code. That is, I download the app. The government gives me approval. You've had your COVID tests. You've come in. Everything is fine. Now, Alex, you can travel to the country. Now, I wanted to come to the country, okay? I wanted to collaborate with the great people at iChongqing. They're fantastic. I love the city of Chongqing. Absolutely love it. Fell in love with the city. How dare I fall in love with a city, okay? So sorry. But as soon as I got to the country, it was very aware to me that, no, they don't leave a back door open, or they're not lazy. Some guy's on a smoke break while you can just walk by and not show your code. It's not going to happen. Once you get off at the airport, you're in a COVID test. This is a free test. They're not charging you $100 like I had to pay in Thailand to get a test, or $150. It's free. You show your phone. Here's how difficult it is, guys. You show your phone just like that. It beeps. They say, is this you? Yes. Please have a COVID test. You get a COVID test. Now, if there's outbreaks in this country, and in the city where I am right now, guys, get this. We are in a district lockdown here in Chongqing. I'm in it right now. That's why I'm not in the studio. I'm in my home. Okay? I'm in lockdown in Chongqing, in one of the districts. Now, here's how good they take care of it. There is accountability, not from the private sector, not from Joe Blow, who's running a medical company. This is from the top down. If you're the mayor of this place, if you're the community leaders, if you're the healthcare workers, you're the front line, you got a responsibility to take care of the people. Now, in my district, there's 3.7 million in this massive city of 32 million. In this district, they've narrowed it down to smaller zones. And I'm pretty certain there's a red and amber, kind of not an amber zone. Well, get this. If you were, for example, at a shopping mall where a case was found and spread, your phone will most audibly, the code will not be green. It will be yellow, or it may even be red. Now, the community leaders, I'm not exaggerating how systematically perfect this is done. I'm not expecting you guys to understand. But this is what's happening. They will contact you. They call me every day. Are you okay? Everything fine? Okay. Did you get a COVID test today? Free at the facilities? Yes. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, sir. Do you need food? If you need food, call this number. I'm actually speechless. They have the ability. And I always used to think, why are they spending all this money when I'm in Thailand? Why would they spend money on mass testing? Who cares? No one's showing their phone in Thailand or Canada when they go into the shopping mall. Write your phone number down. I mean, no. That doesn't happen here. And it's in the best interest for you. Now, people say, I don't want to be, I think it's weird the government knows. The government doesn't care where I'm going as a Canadian. If everything is fine and dandy and there's no outbreaks, they don't care. Hey, where's Alex going today? Is he going to KTV? Is he having pizza? Is he going to the Ritz-Carlton? They don't care, guys. But they do care if there's an outbreak and it puts my health and safety. They do care. They care. They care to call. They care to try to help you out. And if there is a massive outbreak, yeah, they're gonna cordon the area off and they're gonna lock it down. And that is where we're at. Now I'm in my 4th day. We get daily updates. People are calling me. I feel like I'm part of the team, AJ. I feel like I'm part of the COVID prevention team here because I'm up to date. They're telling me what's going on. You okay? Yeah, check it out there. The tests are up the street at this time. It is a slick machine. So if people think that this country is just going to scrap it and say, okay, let's open up, let it rip. Let's put 1.5 billion people's lives in jeopardy. Let it rip. Not going to happen. These people are too responsible for it. They've seen too many people die worldwide, and they're not going to do that to their own citizens. And if this is an example that I have to prove to the audience that this is how Chinese people care, this is how the communities come together, this is how this country comes together. The pandemic has proven over and over and over again. Sure, you're going to hear stories of people that didn't get vegetables, people that were locked in, certain things happen. If somebody does something wrong, there's an accountability. You can't go out and do something bad in this country and get away with it. Okay, if that's what you call freedom, of a place where you can go and get away with something that you shouldn't have done, and that's freedom for you, well, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. But the policies and the things that were put in place here today are still working. And do I feel odd going through this lockdown here? It's a bit strange, but I have to tell you, I feel pretty safe. And AJ, are they going to give that up? I don't think so, but they're going to come up with a clever idea on how to maintain this and slowly open this country back up again. Sure, but this is going to be with this country for a while. Hopefully that gives you a good outline.
Yeah, it's really good, Alex. Really engaging, enlightening. So I just want to also remind people that during the lockdowns in the West, all of the factories, manufacturing, everything was shut down in the West. And I'll give you an example. In UK, nobody was making toilet paper, nobody was making food. So all of it had to be imported. And guess where all of these inputs were coming from? It was coming from China. So can you imagine if China wasn't around, where would the West get all of these stuff to live every single day? Every day you need stuff that you need to live, where would they get it from? Like face masks and, toilet tissue, all of this stuff. Where would they get it if China wasn't producing it and sending it around the world? Secondly, you've talked about this great COVID app in China. The one we have in UK, the government spent 37 billion on it. It's called the Track and Trace.
Wow.
Bloody thing doesn't even work. And if you go to Google and just type in Track and Trace does not work, you're going to see hundreds of articles saying what a waste of money it was, how it doesn't work, the government reckless spending again. I downloaded Track and Trace on my phone, and basically we went to a restaurant, and I gave my details in. We using the Track and Trace and stuff like that. I sat down, and 1 week later I had COVID, right? So I had COVID, and I phoned the Track and Trace company to let them know I had COVID, and I asked them, okay, they wanted to know where my whereabouts were, and I said, okay, this day I went here, that day I went to this restaurant, that day I went here, and I said, are you going to let them know? And the lady was like, oh, basically, our app is not working as it should right now, so we're not doing anything about it at the moment. But make sure you kind of lock down yourself, and make sure you don't go out for like 2 weeks. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's obvious that they didn't let the restaurant know, they didn't let anyone know, so that I thought that was a bit strange. Then I started reading all of these articles about the track and trace doesn't work, what a waste of money it was. And then, like on the second day of when I had COVID, I had some breathing problems. And as you know, when you have breathing problems, that's the time to phone the ambulance. So I phoned the ambulance,
Oh
and
my.
guess what? The ambulance came 4 hours later. 4 hours I had to wait for the ambulance. And by this point, I was like really struggling to breathe.
Oh,
I
that
was
must have
really,
been scary, AJ.
yeah, it was scary, and I was really struggling to breathe. And at that time, you hear stories about how many people are dying because of COVID and stuff. So the ambulance took me to the hospital, and they sat me down in the waiting area. And I looked around. I thought, hang on a second, I've got COVID, and you put me in a waiting area, and there's like hundreds of people here. I could be giving out COVID to the rest of the people. Why can't you put me in a room and isolate me? And they said, oh, we have no rooms available. We're just fully overrun at the moment. We're fully booked. So you're going to have to sit here. And then I had to wait another like 12 hours before I was seen. And it was a nightmare, Alex. It was an absolute nightmare. I literally thought I was going to die in the hospital. I thought, this is the end,
That
and uh,
that
the
must have
doc
been terrifying.
yeah, it was terrible. It was probably one of the worst experiences I've had in my life. And at this point, I literally was struggling to breathe. I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding. I was panicking as well, because when you can't breathe, when you physically can't breathe, your heart's you start panicking. Your heart starts moving really fast, and I could have and they're monitoring my heart as well, and they said I'm in danger of having a heart attack and things like that. And it was a really scary experience, and I never want to go through that again in a Western country. And I don't know if anybody else has had COVID and experienced it in London. London is probably the worst place you can have COVID. The NHS is absolutely shambles. No wonder so many people died in UK, and no wonder so many people died in USA, because the Western system is broken. It just does not work. It's just, during the pandemic, the whole system just collapsed, and a lot of people died because they couldn't have access to oxygen. And same with me. I had oxygen maybe 24 hours later of after I had breathing problems, and I could have died. And and a lot of people who don't have access to oxygen, I know for a fact that they've died before. With all of these waiting around, I know, they just they just fall down dead. And yeah, I completely agree with you, Alex. I mean, you cannot tell another country how to run its own country, and but then you got to look at your own country first. And I think the Western countries, they want China to fail. They want China to have, loads of deaths. They want people to die. They want to completely have cause chaos. And and this is why whenever China does something right, they try and step on it or shit on it, and they're like, oh, this is not freedom. This is against human rights. And I remember when China did the first lockdown, and you had British papers like the Financial Times, Telegraph, Guardian coming out and saying this is against human rights. China's locking down its people. Then 3 months later, when it hit UK, everybody was locked down in UK, and these papers were not saying anything. They were just completely quiet. I'm like, oh, it's okay when we do it, but it's not okay when China does it. But yeah,
I think that I've got an interesting situation. I was living outside of China before the pandemic hit, and I continued to live in China now. So I've seen both sides of it, and I can tell you that things are run a lot different here than they were in Thailand. Let me give you guys an example what I mean by that. Let's see if I can pull this up. I'm going to pull this video up for you guys, see if we can get it on the show here for you.
Give you an idea what happens
can you guys hear that?
Like this building. As I said.
So let me just show this to you guys. This here, you can see all this food. There's a number that's at the entrance of most buildings. This was yesterday. So let me play this for you guys.
So just to give you an idea what happens during a lockdown like this building. As I said, each building, each community is responsible, and it looks like these have been allocated to residents here, a vegetable and fruit packet given to the residents here of this building. This is just one example, and this is how the coordinated efforts start. Hopefully we can combat this and be open in a few days, but immediately already food is being distributed.
Now that was about 36 hours after the mandate went out that there were certain districts in this community, we'll call it. It's a suburb, but I'll call it a suburb, but it's quite a big one. It's got about 3.7 million people. That just shows you right there that they know what they're talking about. They know what they're doing. This is a well-organized, typical way of trying to deal with less issues. And they've narrowed it down. Everyone knows in my community, and this city is Chongqing, China, just so you know. Everyone knows in my community the hot zone, the place where they are certain that the cases were spread. And they have pretty much contacted everybody either by phone or by application to ask their health. Are they okay? Some people's codes went red, some went yellow. If they're red, it's most doubtably that the community, and that's community. It could be not the entire city, where when you hear a city shuts down, but that you roam around the city. No, these communities, I'm going to show you in this next video how they do it. It's truly extraordinary. You don't see this on the news. You won't see this on BBC. You won't. What I'm about to show you guys. And it's done in a way where there's accountability, AJ. You're not going to be a mayor of this area and be lazy when it comes to a pandemic. It's about caring for the people. They have a job and they feel responsible. Sometimes the only, I guess, criticism I can say is sometimes there is a little bit of an overreaction. But what the hell do I know? I'm not I'm not a healthcare worker. Maybe they are overreacting, or maybe they're acting because they know a little bit more than we do. When they say, hey, some people might say, why are they keeping us? If we've tested negative for 5 days, why can't we be allowed out? Obviously they know more. So while this video loads, what happened? Have you, AJ, have you had any long-term COVID effect?
Yeah, I did. I was diagnosed with long COVID, and I think it took me over 6 months to get over it. And my symptoms of long COVID were quite severe. My liver function went completely to a level where I wasn't, my liver wasn't working, and I used to wake up in the middle of the night absolutely like drained. I was completely, my body wasn't producing like water. When you drink water, your liver and your kidney, I don't know biology, but basically your liver has a function, and you basically obviously wee and stuff. So when I drink water, my liver wasn't basically you producing that water for it to go out, like to wee and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So
I know what you're
I used to
talking
be
about. Jesus.
my body used to be completely dry in the middle of the night, and I used to drink a lot of water, and the liver wasn't working, it wasn't peeing out, and so I suffered that for 6 months. It's quite horrible. I used to wake up 2, 3 times a night to drink a lot of water. I was kind of trying to force myself to wee, and it was quite horrible in the first few months. And this was one of the symptoms of long COVID. My liver function went completely dead because of it. And I think it also is because the hospital took so long to treat me. Like I said, you remember when I told you that I was waiting around for 24 hours, and I think if they gave me oxygen before that, I would have been all right, because my body wasn't having enough oxygen for it to function, and I think that's what caused it. And so they gave me like lots of like medicine, and give me a lot of liver tablets and stuff. And it's only like last few months I'm starting to feel much better. And one of the other symptoms is, you get tired very easily. I'm a very active guy, and I used to go to gym. I used to do like kickboxing and boxing and stuff. I used to be very active. And I used to go to these gyms. When you have long COVID and you go to these gyms, you can't last for 5 minutes, and you're completely out of breath. Well, before I used to do 2, 3 classes, one after the other, with no problems. And after long COVID, my body just couldn't handle 5, 10 minutes of it. So it's only like now, last few months, I'm starting to feel quite normal, and yeah, I think my body starts feeling a lot normal. And I got my liver checked the other day. Obviously, it's not back to its normal level, but it is getting better. It's much better than what it was
Mm.
before. So it is. So
Phew.
yeah, this is kind of a long COVID, and if you look at the news, a lot of people are still suffering from long COVID in UK. I think there's over 2 million people in UK who suffer from long COVID. They don't go to work because they're not physically capable. Because one of the things long COVID does, it tires you out. You can't even walk out in the streets, or you can't take public transport, because your body just shuts down, just completely tired, because and that's one of the symptoms of it. And a lot of people are bedridden or home ridden because of it, and that happened to me, unfortunately. But luckily,
Mm.
I'm starting to get better. And yeah, it's horrible, Alex. I think a lot of people don't
Sorry about that, AJ.
yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate what COVID can do to you. It can really
Mm.
destroy someone's body, especially if you don't get it treated in time. When you don't have
Mhm.
the vaccinations, I think, well, I wouldn't say vaccination. I think when you don't have oxygen, I think when your body is starving of oxygen, you need oxygen. And this is why a lot of people die in India, in United States, because they don't have oxygen. Because when the body is struggling to breathe, you need these oxygen masks. And I don't know if you remember the time when India ran out of oxygen masks, and a lot of people died in India because they've run out. So I think, yeah, if I didn't have access to oxygen, I probably would have been dead. I
Mm.
don't know how, if I waited another
Dear,
few
dear,
hours or
dear.
something. Yeah, it's horrible, Alex. Yeah,
Scary.
I think, yeah,
Mhm.
especially the first wave. First wave was probably the most horrible, because there was, at the time, nobody knew what it was. Everybody was going into hospital. And when I was in the waiting room in the hospital, I said, "Look, I've got COVID. I can give it to all of these people." Well, do you know what the nurse said to me? She said, "Don't worry. The chances are, look, most of them have got it anyway."
Wow. Jeez.
And she
It's
she just
terrible.
walked. Yeah, he just walked off, and I'm thinking, wow, this
Ah,
is
God.
the whole
Quite
system
the story.
collapsed, Alex. The whole system
I remember
collapsed.
I was watching it, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's just
we
crazy.
have this question from this guy here. He seems to be quite adamant, so I'm going to give him some attention. He's asking about the students that coming back to China. China has been very clear on the methods of students. I think you compared it to Australia. Now, I know either you're living in Australia now or you've compared it, Dai Wei, to Australia. If we're talking about the same country of Australia that actually shared at one time the same, we'll call it exit and entry as North Korea, I'm I'm not sure that you really have much ground to stand on. As you guys know, during this pandemic, crazy countries did crazy things. Australia actually blocked their own citizens from coming back to their own country. That's right, passport holders, Australian passport holders. Do you remember this, AJ?
I don't. No, I don't remember it actually. I don't really
Yeah.
follow Australia as much.
Well, during COVID, Australia shut their borders, and they didn't allow. And correct me if I'm wrong. In the chats, I'm almost certain that Australia, at one point, for quite a long time, did not even allow its own citizens back into its own country. So much of the value of that passport. But yeah, the requirements for students to come back into China, it is loosening up now. They are slowly bringing some of them back. Yes, that happened all around the world. Borders were shut down. Even in America, students couldn't come in, or other students that were studying over there. So yeah, guys, let me know if Australia did close its borders to its own citizens. Just want to make sure that I got that one right, because I'm pretty certain I was right about that. I'm going to play you guys a little bit of a video here, just since we're on the pandemic. I just want to find out where it is, and I will be a second here, and I will find the video. One sec. AJ, that's quite the story, man.
Yeah, I don't think I've shared it with anyone, to be honest. I think you guys are getting exclusive.
I wasn't aware of that. That's. I mean, that's. What did your family? Were they concerned? Like, I mean, did you have any immediate family there to help you?
Yeah,
Or?
yeah. No, I didn't. No, at the time I was in London, and my missus, she was in Manchester, because we live in Manchester, but I have to go to London for work, and obviously as a civil servant. But most of the time they allow me to work from home. But sometimes I need to be in the office. Sometimes if I need to be in the office, I live in London. So what happened? Yeah, my missus was in Manchester, and I told her not to come because I don't want her to have obviously get COVID from me and stuff. So yeah, I was just by myself.
Well, good afternoon.
Staying in a hotel.
Yeah. So that way,
also, Alex, at the time, I remember the hospital sending me home, and there was no facilities at the time to get groceries or how to live in there was no facilities. There is a delivery service that Tesco provided, and other supermarkets provided. However, everybody was using it, and they shut it down because there were so many people using it at the time, and nobody wanted to get out of the house. Everybody was trying to use these systems. So the whole system shut down. There was no way for me to order any food, any takeaways, because most takeaways are shut down. There was no way to order any food from supermarkets. Nobody would come and deliver stuff because everyone was scared. Nobody knew what was going on. So here I was with COVID, and I had nothing in my fridge, and I was dying of hunger. I had no choice but to go out and go to the supermarket, Alex. I had to go to the supermarket with COVID. I had no other choice and get food. And, I could easily give COVID to somebody else, but I had no choice because there was no facilities. There was no way to get food.
That's what I'm saying, AJ. That's the difference here. That's the difference. Things are very different here when it comes to the pandemic. People are educated about it, and they do fear it in a way. John said that Australia here, yes, you are right. The Australian government stopped a lot of our own citizens returning from India. Dai Wei, it seems that you either are a student or have a child or somebody that wants to or needs to get back into China as a student. You're very persistent on this case. So I'm going to leave it with that. But I'm going to play you a video I took yesterday, okay? This is in my neighborhood. Let's have a watch.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a nice little stroll in Yubei. Yubei district, population 3.7 million here in Chongqing. As you can see, things are not as they seem. This is a major road coming into Yubei district, and you'll see in the distance there, the gates of the subway line are closed. No buses on the road, barely any cars. If there's any cars, they're mostly on the road for delivery, like delivery trucks or delivery services, or medical, or for a very special reason. It's basically impossible to actually leave this district at this time. As you can see, I'm pretty much the only bike or car on the road. And most government buildings have been roped off, as you can see. Whoever is there is still stuck in the building. And you will see, that's right, the CRT lines are completely gated and closed. As we go further down the road here, we'll see some do not enter signs and some barricades with police checks. We can even just quickly, if we can, I want to show you the entrance down to the shopping mall here. Now, some construction activity was on about a day or two ago, but that has seen to cease. So it's very quiet here. When you can hear the birds around 3 shopping malls, you know that things are extremely quiet. Well, that is about as much activity going on at the shopping mall as you can imagine here in the middle of a, we'll call it a temporary lockdown, we hope. It's been going on for about 4 days now. This is quite a big city. Beautiful day out today, nice blue skies. And I don't want to really go too much farther down there because you will see it's roadblocks. And yeah, well, it's basically saying don't enter. I can see if I can zoom in my camera to show you. But yeah, there's gates down there. This is a delivery van that is allowed in. I guess we can go in a little bit here. Oh, we're good. I don't want to make these officials nervous, thinking we're trying to have a getaway here. But that will show you, that is a major artery. That's a 4-lane in and 4-lane out of Yubei. They take their pandemics very serious here in China, even if it's low cases or not. This is what the government and local municipalities go to maintain the safety of people. Anyway, guys, that's my stroll for the day. Back to the
Alex,
apartment.
you're going around the wrong way.
Back to being a good Samaritan. Talk soon.
Yeah, I know, but when there, it's kind of it was fun when there's no vehicles on the road. I mean, the road is yours. I mean, it's like driving a boat. There's no lanes. No, that, guys, for everybody watching, that is Yubei district in Chongqing, not Hubei or Wuhan or anything like that. It's Yubei, Y-U-B-E-I. Actually, I think it's one of the greatest parts of Chongqing, but what would I know, right?
I watched
Sorry,
a
go
video
ahead.
I watched a video yesterday, Alex, and you were basically in this island in Chongqing, this little island in the middle of the Yangtze River. Looked amazing with all the greenery and everything. It looks amazing.
You know, that was part of the, and you're talking about
Island, I think.
Guangyang Island.
Yeah, Guangyang Island.
Actually, did you know that at around 2017-18, that was scheduled for massive condo development, and the government said, you know what? They spoke with the developers and said, we're going to put money into Ecology. and they pumped in a ton of money to bring back nature. There are birds there, lots of birds, lots of species there. And
if anyone hasn't seen it, I think you should put the link up, because this is a great video to watch. I watched it
thank you.
yesterday, and I just thought it's so fascinating. This little nature reserve they built right in the middle of Chongqing, in the middle of the river. Yeah, I just thought, wow, this is like, looks like paradise. And yeah, you're right.
It's beautiful, but the government really put money in there, and they're trying to when things get fully open, they're going to. It's more of an educational for kids. I'll put the link out here, guys. Just a link to Ecology video. There you guys go. Okay, there it is. Thanks for reminding me about that, AJ. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's great. I just love. I watched it last night. I thought, wow, this is so amazing. This is stuff that you don't see in the Western papers. This is stuff. This is real. This is like gold. This is, you're not going to see that anywhere.
Well, you're a guy that really keeps up to date. I mean, you sent me a link a while ago about all the the construction and stuff going on in China. I wasn't even aware of that, and I said, how the heck did I find this? I mean, what a wealth of knowledge that website was.
Yeah, it's great. I look at it every day. A lot of you don't know that I've got a degree in civil engineering, so I'm really into construction. I'm really into infrastructure, and not just in China, but all across the world. I just love, infrastructure. I just love buildings and mega projects, things like that. And I've always been fascinated by it. So I always follow that kind of stuff wherever I go, really. And I'm always fascinated how they build it, what the kind of design aspects of it, what materials they use. And, I look at all of that, I just find it really fascinating.
So AJ, what's the plans this week for the remainder of the week for you?
Nothing much this week, actually. Quite a bit of a quiet one. On Friday, I might go to the cinema, watch Black Adam. I don't know if anyone of you. I don't know if this is like the little kid in me watching it.
I haven't watched it.
I used to like read all the DC comics when I was a kid, so I'm into really all of these comic characters that I used to read when I was a child. So his film's coming out on a Friday. So hopefully it should be good. Probably won't be good, but I'll watch it anyway.
Well, for all the people that like watching aerial footage, my channel is a lot to do with aerials, drones all over China. I think I can pretty much say I have one of the largest catalog of drone photographies in the country by far. But I watched a movie 2 nights ago called Ambulance, and I thought, wow, these guys are using a lot of drones, a lot of FPV, and that movie, wow, what a ride, man. I was loving it. My wife said, look at these are drones. These are FPV drones, Alex, they're drones. I said, yes, I know.
We watched it on cinema, that film.
That must have been amazing to watch in the cinema.
I think Jake Gyllenhaal, right? Yeah, it's a great movie. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Alex, those of you who are investing, they invest in money in stock exchanges and stuff. This Friday would be a very good time. So if you're doing currency investing, if you're doing currency conversion, and if you're doing using a pair between US dollars and Great British pound, this Friday would be a good time to bet against the pound, because the Bank of England has come out and said they're going to stop helping, because the Bank of England has been bailing out the pound over the past few weeks. I think they spent around 65 billion or something bailing out the pound, because pound is dropping, interest rates are rising, and the pound is falling. And they've been manually putting money into it and buying their own bonds and stuff. And all of this stuff is going to end on Friday, which means the pound is going to fall really sharply. So if you guys are into currency conversions or stocks, forex trading, I would go out there and buy as many dollars when it comes to the pair, dollar and pound pairing, and wait for it to fall on Friday and make a lot of money. I think this is kind of some good tips one of my friends told me. So Yeah, so on Friday,
It's not investment advice.
yeah, on Friday it's gonna absolutely bomb. They're saying that the pound actually would go below parity, parity with the dollar. So you can actually see the pound actually shooting down and falling well beyond parity. So if you are doing forex trading and you're using the dollar versus the pound pairing, I would buy as many US dollars as I can right now. Buy as many as you can. You pour your money in it, because on Friday you will make tons of money from that.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, because one
there
of
it
my
is.
friends, he was actually a millionaire. The last time the pound crashed last
Jesus.
week,
Yeah.
he became a millionaire. He told me he's put like 250,000 against the pound falling, and guess what? The pound fell because he knew what a disaster this mini budget was. He knew the pound was going to fall, and he
Well,
made over
that
like $1
could
million.
go the other way too. So careful.
Yeah, I think he knew it's going to happen. I think he was 100% sure. In the same way, the same thing will happen this Friday. You watch.
Okay.
You heard
Well, we
it
can come
here
on.
first.
Yeah, that
You heard
avoid
it here.
AJ. Okay, AJ, I'm gonna turn over the screen to you to say the goodbyes. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great pleasure being here tonight. And AJ, fantastic questions. I really appreciate you giving me the floor to talk about the dynamic COVID prevention here in China. I really do appreciate that. It's always a great pleasure to share screens with you. And I'm going to let you say goodbye and all that to the audience. And when AJ's done, we're going to put up the screen so that you guys can talk for a bit. We're not going to cut you off just like that. All right, AJ, over to you guys. Thank you very much from iChongqing. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button below. Put a like, put a comment after our video as well. And from all the iChongqing people that have tuned in tonight, make sure that you head over to AJ's channels. He has a few of them. He'll probably tell you about them now, either the new ones or all that kind of stuff. Don't forget to subscribe to AJ, and we will see you next week. I've got a very, very chocker-blocked week here with a lot of live streams going on, because the 16th here in October is absolutely a day that you have to take a big red or green, whatever pen you want, and circle that 16th, because a lot of stuff and a lot of news is going to be coming out of China. Okay, guys, that's it for me here, Alex. Back over to AJ, and then you guys can say your lovely goodbyes to what an amazing audience we've had tonight. Thanks again. Take care.
Thanks, Alex. I really appreciate the kind words. Thank you to, first of all the moderators on board. Obviously, Bridget, Frank, Zuge, Quantum, Dark, and I think I've got all of you guys. Yep, that's it. And thanks for all you guys who have been listening to us and being very patient. I know it's quite a long one today. So yeah, really appreciate it, guys. And we'll see you in the next video, hopefully very soon. Thanks for everyone that's subscribed to my new channel. I'm subscribed to my channel and my new channel as well. Appreciate that. And yeah, so we'll keep going, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.